Prince of Cups appears to be riding towards the observer on his chariot through this lake, buffeted by rain and strong weather. On the Rider-Waite card we can see something really different, the more peaceful and calm nature of the card. He's not racing through the environment, but rather he is peacefully trotting on his horse through this environment and holding the cup out in front, showing it to the world around him, showing a charm and a creativity, and sharing it and wishing to offer it to us. The Prince of Cups on the Thoth Tarot is very different. This shows an intensity, and indeed he is the airy part of water, so he is air in water. And of course air and water, when they mix together, can create waves and can create blasts of storms and so on, and quite extreme and amazing weather conditions. And so it's showing that the stream would flow very quickly, for example, with this card, and he would ride with it and want to explore life and all of those tactile sensations that you would get through air and water along the way. On the Tree of Life, as a prince, he's going to be found in the 6th Sephiroth, which is Tifereth. And this is interesting because it shows that charm of which this card is said to have, because Tifereth is associated with beauty. And so he is really quite chivalrous. He's the type of prince that would come and sweep us off our feet, that type of thing. And yet, because he is in Tifereth, it's Kether, but it's on a lower vibration upon the Tree of Life, and so it's really like not so much a child, but a young person who is coming down from that white light of everything at the top and wanting to explore it out into the physical world. So it's like a young person on an adventure, on a quest, and wanting to taste and touch and experience everything all around him. Astrologically, he's in Scorpio, and so we can really see those elements there of his personality coming through as well, that intensity of his emotions and that great magnetism and power of persuasion and intuition, really putting himself out into the world. And yet Scorpio also has that transformative element. It's connected with cycles of death and rebirth, and it has multiple different symbols associated with it, many of which we've seen over on the Major Arcana with the Death card. And here we can see the second symbol of Scorpio that's actually pulling his chariot along, and that of course is the eagle. So this is the second stage of Scorpio, and it's a type of transformative stage connected with courage, power. As you can see, this eagle is flying very freely. It's very powerful, and so there's going to be a lot of air associated with it. There's actually quite a lot of air in this card, despite it being a water card. And so the eagle is strong, although it is controlled by our prince, which we will come back to. And yet, of course, as an eagle, it's prone to swooping down upon its prey and defeating it, so it can cause destruction. And yet it can also be very powerful with its intellect and its intuition. It will be self-focused, and so this is pulling the actual prince along on his chariot. The chariot is shaped like a seashell, and it's said to be not actually touching the water. It's supposed to be almost floating above it, like a hovercraft really, in many regards. And so he's just scooting along the actual surface of the water without breaking it. And this is showing that although he is going out on this adventure, he's not delving too deep into his emotions at this stage, to the fact where if he went under the water, it would bog him down, it would slow him down, and he doesn't want that. He doesn't want to be held back. And so it's suggesting that he's not really caring too much, just like the eagle wouldn't really be too bothered about the opinions of its prey when it swoops down to get them, for example. And yet it can also suggest that there is a depth to him, a depth that we simply don't see because we've got no idea what lies underneath the water, because of course he's not breaking the surface of it. And he doesn't really want us to see that because he just wants to move on. He wants to explore and move away. And so that secretive nature of him, he's not allowing us to see it. We don't know what depths he holds in his heart. and he holds the reins of his chariot in his left hand, of which of course is associated with the physical world, the left brain, that sort of thing. And so if he's controlling that with his left hand, it's showing that he's focused on his intellect rather than his emotions. And also the reins themselves are black. This is the physical world as well, and specifically with Scorpio, it's the decay aspect of Scorpio and the death card. So it really brings us back to that transformative idea that Scorpio can be destructive here, and perhaps also it's showing that his journey that he's controlling with this rein in his left hand, being in the physical world, will end in death. No matter how fast he goes or to how many places he goes, there will be an end to this journey in the physical world, with his destruction and his decay. And yet if we delve deeper into the Scorpio symbols and cross-reference it back to the death card, there is of course the rebirth and transformation element which comes from that as well. We can see this symbol continued with his right hand, in that the lotus blossom, which is a symbol of water and the power and transformative element as well of water, is held upside down. And so it's just what we've seen with the lake and floating above it, in that he's not interested in engaging his emotions and sharing out love and emotion like what we saw with the Princess of Cups, for instance. Instead, he holds the physical intellect, the passion and power of physical exploration as more important than his intuition and his emotion and his heart. And so he's holding it down as if to say, I don't want to share that. I don't really want to have to engage in that. He does, however, hold the cup as well in his left hand. So that shows what's most important to him there. And within the cup is a coiling serpent. And this serpent is one of the other symbols of Scorpio. And it's a really interesting one in that the prince is looking at this serpent, so he obviously finds it very important. And this is Scorpio learning to become manipulative, to put on the charm. So it's like the serpent, of course, in Eden, asking to taste of a fruit to give knowledge, and it's quite manipulative, and you don't quite know if you can trust it. And so it could be suggesting that he has a little bit of that personality in him. And yet, of course, a serpent sheds its skin. It shows a love of change, a changing of one's skin, which of course is a changing of one's clothes, a changing of one's appearance, and of their environment, going out on that adventure, going out on that never-ending quest. It's versatile, just like our prince himself. Now, the wings of the eagle and these quite strong-looking waves behind him both contain the number 8. They're formed out of 8 different images here. And this brings us to the 8th Sephiroth, Hod, of which is yet again concerned with the intellect and the physical. As well as that, it's concerned with majesty and splendour, which of course translates very easily to the fact that he is a prince and he's very charming. And Hod as well could be about using words or language. It's referred to as the key to the mystery of form. And so it's using our way of expression to conquer our obstacles. And so this prince really is going to be laying on the charm. If you met this prince, you would really come away thinking he was quite wonderful in that regard, because he's putting out that element and showing all of his successes and things like that in the world, which can be quite good. It's not necessarily a bad thing. And so to draw the card, it could ask us to express that in some way, a passion, an intensity that makes people think that we are, quite wonderful. We've had all these experiences and adventures, and to show our abilities out into the world, show what we can do. And yet, of course, he's quite self-centered in that respect as well, so his main responsibility is his own adventure, because he's holding that lotus upside down. So perhaps, even though he really is quite charming, he might not be entirely trustworthy. In some regard, you might not want to actually rely on him. And so although he can be quite creative, in his way of controlling the eagle, for example, and going on these quests. He's not showing you his true destination, he keeps it secret. And so to get the card could be asking us, are we going with that flow of life, or are we being secretive and holding it back? We need to come to our highest good upon our journey. Not turn too much towards ourselves, but know ourselves better. Be balanced in our adventure, so that we're not just too far to one side. And then we will be able to actually travel throughout all the different cards and come out better because of it.